Testing for YouTube. Testing 1, 2, 3.
All right, welcome everyone. Before we call our meeting to order today, I do just want to recognize that today is Scott Smith's final council meeting as our Director of Development Services and Deputy CAO. Many of you know Scott. He has worked for the city for a long time. I won't say how long. I don't actually know exactly how long, but a very long time, with a short period of time away. But Scott has no doubt contributed a massive amount to the city of Port Alberni. Scott, it has been such a pleasure working with you over the last 12 years. And we just wish you well in your retirement. We know that you will be around still and probably contributing in different ways to the city. But last meeting today last formal council meeting as the Director of Development Services. So Scott, just thank you for all that you've contributed. It's been wonderful working with you on behalf of council and the city, and you will be missed for sure.
Speech. No. I started something. I feel bad now. I guess I would say that it's been amazing to serve the city of Port Alberni for 23 years in total. And it's been to have a great opportunity to work with a lot of amazing people through some challenging issues and some really positive issues. And I'm just super pleased and very pleased that Brian McLaughlin will take on to move the department forward as the new Director of Development Services. And I just want to thank all the amazing people I've had an opportunity to work with.
Thank you, Scott. 23 years, wow, just an incredible amount of time. Okay, we will call to order our regular meeting of council today, and we will start by recognizing and acknowledging that we work, live, and play in the city of Port Alberni, which is situated on the unceded territories of the Sishat and Hupachesit First Nations. Council, we do have an agenda in front of us, and I have one late item from Councillor Solda to add personal mobility and road safety motion. I will add that as L5 under new business. Are there any other late items? Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wonder about the appropriateness of adding this motion. It's not really a late item. It's an item that certainly has been going on for a number of years, and there's no urgency to deal with it right now. All these issues that are addressed are simply against the law in Port Alberni. I wonder if that might be set down for proper notice and heard at the next meeting.
Thank you. Council has the ability to either add it or not add it through the motion. So we can certainly make it a notice of motion so that there's more time for council to consider it. Or we can keep it on the agenda as proposed. And we don't need to get into a full discussion about the issue today, or until it's on the agenda, but I'll just leave that for council to determine. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Then may I move that the agenda be approved with including the late item?
Yes. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Dame.
What is the motion?
Thank you. Great. Any other late items? Any late items from our corporate officer?
No late items, Madam Mayor.
Okay, hearing none. Motion. Thank you. So with the late item added on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried, none opposed. Okay, and on to adoption of minutes. We have minutes from the special meeting and regular meeting of council held August 10th, 2026. Move to adopt by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Mealy. Any comments on the minutes? Corporate officer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to note that on the special in-camera agenda, page 1, you'll note that it references section 90D and E of the community charter. I'd just like to note that section A needed to be added to that as well, please, if we could approve those as amended.
Thank you. We will make that a friendly amendment to approve as amended. With the change. Okay, seeing no other comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. On to delegations. We have one delegation today, and that's the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District, here to provide an update regarding Mount Underwood fire support. Come on forward, Daniel.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm Daniel Saya. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer of the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District. And with me today is Karen Taylor, who is the General Manager of Fire and Emergency Services. We wanted to come here today to present a thank you to the city. As you know, the city and the ACRD have a shared emergency operations center. So we operate together on all emergencies in the valley. And last year, almost a year ago, was an excellent example of our collaboration with the Mount Underwood fires. We successfully pooled our resources, staff, knowledge, skills, and elected officials working together towards solving a very significant fire that was impacting both the city and areas of the regional district. I will ask Karen to provide a little overview, and then I will make a presentation, if that's okay.
Thank you, Daniel. Just provide a brief overview of the wildfire. As you know, it started on August the 11th, and it started abruptly and very quickly and moved and grew to 3,518 hectares in total. The fire was declared out on December the 8th, so that was quite a number of weeks with an active wildfire in our region. We issued and declared a state of local emergency, evacuation orders, and an evacuation alert, as well as a local recovery period. In total, there was a 74-day road closure and a 12-day power outage, which had a number of impacts on particularly the communities of Banfield and Anakla residents. So there was impacts to infrastructure, economical impacts, health impacts, and environmental impacts that have had significant results on members of the communities. We opened our emergency operations center for over 80 days. So we started our EOC, is what we call it, the Emergency Operations Center, on August the 11th, and we officially closed it on October the 30th. But the recovery period that went on beyond that time was significantly moved into even the new year of 2026. So we're grateful for the support of, as Daniel mentioned, our EOCs and our staff and our resources coming together. I truly believe that collaboration is key moving forward. And Daniel will go over some of the lessons we learned, but certainly one of the lessons we learned is collaboration is key. Emergencies do not abide by jurisdictional boundaries, and we need to work together. So thank you to the 24 City of Port Alberni employees that came into the Emergency Operations Center and helped respond to this event.
So with regards to lessons learned, I think it's fair to say that communication is always the area that we double down on. We did quite well in communication, but there's always more for us to build on around the lines of communication, both in terms of the use of technology that we do have and in terms of the timing, particularly with multiple jurisdictions. One of the hallmarks of this response, or the response that we saw last year, is the level of coordination and collaboration, not only between our two organizations, but also with Tishat, with Hupachesit, with Huayet, and with Dididat First Nations, as well as with all the other agencies that were the rightful agency to respond. So in some cases, that's BC Wildfire Services. In other cases, it was Ministry of Transportation. In other cases, it's Ministry of Health. And so one can imagine with the volume of different leads at different times, the level of coordination around communication was key, and we're constantly improving around those areas. One of the things that I think we are grateful for, and that we saw leverage in a very good way, is all the advanced work that we do together. So between our organizations, but also with the First Nations organizations and emergency response, we are consistently working together, both in terms of emergency training and in terms of other initiatives that we do. And I think it's important to share, because often the public doesn't get to see the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes and the relationships that are being built based on that investment in the work. And when critical periods arise, these relationships get tested. And I think last year we really saw those relationships shine. There was we started at a much higher level of trust between organizations. And I think that allowed us to really deliver a much better service overall to the communities that were in need. And so along those lines, I do want to present a thank you. At first we thought, hey, we'll give you a card, but the problem with a card is that it can collect dust and sometimes disappears, marking a great chapter in a book. We preferred to acknowledge all those that played a direct hand in the EOC itself, and hope that you can hang something on the wall. The artist who provided the art is Victoria. Sorry, I wrote down her name to make sure I can read it. Nukamus from the Huayet Nation. And what we have is there were 34 agencies that were actually working through our Emergency Operations Center, of which the city was one. And Victoria has graciously allowed us to reproduce her art. And so there are 34 pieces of this art that are going to be framed and hanging in each one of those 34 organizations that were part of it, and also acknowledge all the names of the individuals that took part. If we got something wrong, because it is a print, please let us know and we will make sure that we update and correct so that you have the correct marker on a wall. The frame is exactly the same frame that's shared with the ACRD, so each organization had a different frame. Ours is the same because we are a shared EOC. And so along those lines, we just wanted to say a heartfelt thank you. Whenever these incidents occur, it is highly stressful for everyone, including people that are having to respond. And so our unity in response was really made a huge difference, and we want to acknowledge and thank you for that.
Well, thank you so much, Daniel. And on behalf of the city, I'll just echo that right back. And we have been through a lot of shared emergencies now. And I kind of go back to when I started in this role, and I remember an emergency that occurred very shortly after, and the disjointedness with which our two local governments, who happened to sit right next to each other on a map, worked at that time together. It was very challenging. Last year, I think, was a really excellent show of how far we have come through some very difficult times, but how far we have come in our organizations working together really flawlessly. So on behalf of the city, I think we just want to state how much we really appreciate the relationship that we have, not only with the ACRD, with all of the organizations that we were fortunate to work through that very challenging situation for all of our communities. But I will just say the confidence with which we now feel comfortable to have the ACRD as the lead when we have situations that are emergencies in our communities is certainly something that for myself personally is very different from 8 years ago. And it's been wonderful to watch our organizations grow together. So thank you to you and the team there, all of the employees, as well as all the people who came together to keep that EOC running, which I know was no small feat, given how long it did have to go on for. So thanks for the relationship, all the work, and I will come up and accept this beautiful picture. Okay. That was our only delegation today. We have no unfinished business, so on to staff reports. And the first one is the quarterly report from Parks, Recreation, and Culture. Sorry, the only one today.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Today's report is to provide Council with an overview of the Department's operations for the quarter ending June 30th, 2026. The second quarter of 2026 was marked by a transition to peak summer service levels and heavy support for community events across all divisions. The Parks Division expanded to a 7-day service to manage high park usage, support tournaments, and enable early opening of water and spray parks. Recreation saw exceptional engagement, hosting large community events such as Celebrate PA and experiencing overwhelming demand for summer camps and aquatic programs. Facilities advanced critical mechanical upgrades at the multiplex, while culture successfully delivered the 2-week Abashiri 40th anniversary celebration, along with assisting and with recreation with our larger community events, and saw substantial 170% growth in the HEART program participation. Our communication for this quarter focused primarily on community events, program registrations, and the upcoming grant cycle. Overall, our budget for this quarter remained within expected levels, where parks, projects, and operation budgets remained on track, as well as recreation and culture. And we saw some minor overruns in facilities due to construction overruns, and additionally seeing increases in vandalism throughout the city, which required some more input from facilities. In all, Q2 of 2026 was a period of high output and community celebration. The department successfully balanced the heavy demands of peak season transition with the execution of large-scale public events such as Celebrate PA, the festival, and the Abashiri Sister City 40th anniversary. Concurrently, the department achieved major milestones in facility asset management, including the near completion of multiplex mechanical upgrades and the finalization of safety improvements at the McLean Mill National Historic Site. Looking forward, upcoming measurables for the next quarter of reporting includes executing fire smart related vegetation maintenance at civic buildings, supporting capital projects, and maintaining peak summer service delivery in parks. On the recreational side, delivering full schedule of summer camps, hosting a teen movie night, and celebrating the 25 years of service at the Alberni Valley Multiplex on September 19th. For facilities, we are assuming full operational responsibility for the newly acquired Old Post Office building as of July 1st, and also executing the Aquatic Center annual maintenance shutdown, which is underway. On the culture side, we are looking forward with much excitement to the upcoming Dinosaurs of BC traveling exhibit at the museum, which begins in September, and it's supported by a comprehensive suite of educational, family, and curriculum-connected programming. My staff and I are here to answer any further questions. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for the report. Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Recently, we had an email from a parent who has a lot of difficulty getting her children to swimming lessons. And I know parents sit there at like 9 o'clock at their computer on start of registration to try and get their children in. So is there anything that we can do to help try and alleviate the situation? Are we at capacity? I know there's no simple answer, but is there anything that can be done to help increase the number of lessons offered?
For sure. So we fully agree that with our residents, that swimming is more than recreational. Water safety is a fundamental life skill, essentially for children growing up in the Alberni Valley. We hear the frustration with registration, and we share the goal of getting more children safely into our pools. Because of this complex operational challenge, I would like to provide some context on the current lesson capacity. While there's strong public perception that our programs are full, a review of our summer 2026 statistics reveals a more nuanced picture. Over an 8-week period this summer, we offered 120 swim lessons options across morning and evening time blocks, creating a total of 736 available spots. However, only 52% of those offered lessons had participants registered. This resulted in 381 filled spots, leaving about 355 unfilled. The frustration many families are experiencing are largely stemmed from a mismatch in demand. High demand lessons fill almost immediately, while other levels or time slots go underutilized. When a specific class doesn't meet our minimum threshold of only 3 registrants, we must cancel the lesson slot. As a result, the challenge is not simply staffing shortages, It's optimizing our schedule to match specific community needs while maintaining strict safety ratios and balancing overall facility hours. Our department is actively addressing this. We're currently conducting a comprehensive review of our aquatic program structures to better align our offerings with these demand patterns and identify efficiencies within our current pool availability. With any substantial expansion of service levels, such as adding permanent new blocks of time, requires broader structural adjustments. So we're carefully evaluating these requirements now so we can formally present them to council during our upcoming departmental and financial planning cycles.
Thank you for that great answer.
Councillor Solda.
Thank you for the report. I found it really interesting. But what I do want to ask, I have several. And one is the vandalism and the vandalism costs, because it has escalated from 4,439 to 8,569. So I'm just kind of curious to know what types of vandalism and the locations. And is there something that council could do to that could cost us less if we put something, dollars in a budget to help mitigate whatever the issue, however the issue is? Do you know?
That's a very interesting question. I'll have our facilities manager, Rob Craneveld, speak to the vandalism.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the question. That trend is actually an anomaly where over the last quarters, we've actually seen a downgrade in vandalism trends, largely due to some proactive measures such as increased lighting, cutting back vegetation, increased patrols, and promoting of healthy activities. It doesn't take too many of the wrong kind of events to really skew the numbers. These ones in particular, below the little blurb, is a lot of our public washrooms continue to be targets. Even at the multiplex, we had an incident where bad actors ripped all the mirrors off the walls and smashed them on the ground, also ripped the countertop off the wall. At the parks buildings, we've had a few break-ins recently that partially involved the smashing of windows, and at Harbor Key, it's continued vandalism, graffiti. So these are unfortunate ways that affects our facilities budget. We'd rather spend them in more productive ways, but also, to Councillor Solda's question, we do try to proactively also earmark funding for not only remediation of vandalism events, but also prevention.
All right, thank you. The other question, may I go on, Madam Mayor? Regarding the garbage bins, and that's on page 415 of the agenda, if anybody wants to really look at it. First, I want to first of all say what great work you guys do in the parks and that, and seeing park staff out there on the streets and doing their jobs and that, it's just fantastic. And I've heard that from the public too, so just to make sure I do that. So, so when it comes to the garbage bins and that, is there a way to, we know people are picking through them and it's consuming staff time. And is there a higher problem areas? And would it take, on those higher problem areas, would it be better to have different garbage cans, to mitigate getting in there? Or would it be more vandalism? Maybe just for future budget and stuff like that, and help with staff time. If it takes down staff time, it takes down maybe cost. And in the end, you might be paying more for these garbage cans, but it still will pay for its own.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the question through the chair. So yes, currently we have bear-proof / vandalism-proof bins. So to vandalize these bins, we're having residents dig in through the arm slot. So there really is no way to stop that other than monitoring them, changing them more often, and potentially moving out of the troubled areas.
Okay, so the next question is, I saw that you received a letter, I was reading that you received a letter about the accessibility seating at the AV multiplex. And I'm just wondering what the status is and what happened with the accessibility seating. I know in the past, we had a lot of people that had issues and they wanted more accessibility to different seats and stuff like that. But, so what's the status we're at now?
I'll go to our CAO for that question.
Madam Mayor, we are looking at the complaint to see what we can do to resolve the issue, if there is an issue. So we have to determine what needs to happen. So at this time, we don't have an answer to supply to council.
Thank you. Councillor Solda.
Okay, thank you. And finally, the last question, I promise. The trail counters. So on the trail counters, that the stats that you're showing us are not the existing ones that were there for a while. This is actually new ones that are put on the trails? Oh.
Thank you for the question to the chair. These are existing as well as we've added some more trail counters to various areas just to monitor our maintenance.
Okay, so where I'm going with this is it'd be great to see the stats from previous to on here. You've given us some just recent stats, and I know some of them are down, and obviously the one on the key-to-key pathway would be down because that's been shut down for deconstruction, but it would be really great to see at the end 2025 to 26, and just wanted to put that out for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Other questions or comments? Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just going back to Councillor Solda about the garbage bins, and I do notice that there are some smaller blue recycling bins around town. So I'm not sure if that would help to be put beside some of those. I mean, the two things people go into garbage for is for bottles and for food. And so for the bottles, at least, and I'm not sure if those blue bins are effective, the ones down at Harbor Key, the ones in front of Pescadores, let's say, they're not everywhere, but I mean, I'm just an idea of that maybe the deterrent to stop some of it, maybe not all of it, but to have a separate so people can recycle, and then if people do want it, they can go to the one bin.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. Okay, Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I'm wondering if the director could just comment briefly on the state of the Parks Master Plan, and particularly what I'm interested in is perhaps an early peek at the distribution of parks throughout the community, and if there's any recommendations or thought being put towards that. Thank you.
The master plan is still continuing. We are in the process of our final review, pending the return of Mr. Arsenault, who is leading the project. We have sent some final recommendations to our consultant group, Lanark, who with some recommendations regarding prioritization of parks and facilities. And we hope to have that an early draft ready for review shortly.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you for the report. Before we make a motion to receive, I just wanted to ask our corporate officer about the timing of the RCMP quarterly report. I know that we've been waiting on that one and we've completed the rest of the departments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The RCMP quarterly report will be here on September 8th at the regular meeting due to some operational constraints and staff vacations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, would somebody like to move receipt? Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. On the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Okay, moving on to bylaws. Item number 1, official community plan, bylaw number 5155, 2026.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. At the July 27th regular meeting, Council gave first and second readings to Official Community Plan Bylaw 5155. A public hearing was then held on August 10th here in Council Chambers. Administration is now recommending that Council receive the minutes of the public hearing and that Council give third reading and finally adopt the bylaw. Thank you, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Before we go to comment specifically on the OCP, I just wanted to check in on the information that a member of the public asked us for regarding cost of bump outs. I know that we said that it would come forward and that it wasn't specifically related to the OCP, but I know it was asked in relation to that process. So just wanted to check on a timeline.
Thank you for the follow-up, Madam Mayor. So we did provide that on Friday. We did provide the information that showed the costs of bike lanes, painting bike lanes, bump outs versus pavement. So we're looking at the net. So that was all provided to the member of the public that was seeking that information.
Thank you very much. Happy to hear. Councillor Haggard.
Could you share that information with council as well?
Yeah, absolutely, Madam Mayor, that we were planning to send that out as part of the correspondence
Okay,
registry.
thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Councillor Mealy.
No comments, Madam Mayor, but I'll move that the council receive the minutes of the public hearing dated August 10th, 2026 as information.
Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Seeing no comments on the minutes, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Move that the official community plan bylaw number 5155, 2026 be read a third time.
Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Any comments? Seeing none, on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Move that the official community plan bylaw number 5155, 2026 be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and corporate officer and numbered 5155.
Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. On the motion, seeing no comments, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried, none opposed. All right. What a fantastic way to wrap up Scott Smith's final council meeting with us. Yes, absolutely. Well, we can't give all the credit to Brian because we've been working on this for a long, long time. But yes, Brian, our manager of planning and incoming director of development services, certainly want to recognize all the work you've done on this alongside Scott and many, many others on getting us through the OCP, which took a long time, but I think was ultimately worth it to spend the extra time making sure we had a plan that really works for the community going forward. So happy to have that finally approved. And we will continue on probably with Brian for item number 2, zoning amendment for 4521 Dogwood Street, bylaw number 5156.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With this application, the applicant is requesting to rezone a portion of 4521 Dogwood Street from institutional to primary residential. The subject properties are located at the corner of Dogwood Street and 8th Avenue and are currently occupied by a daycare facility. And as you'll see on the screen, that this property, let's say, consists of 2 lots. We have lot 14 and lot 15. And the intent is to rezone a portion of lot 14 to primary residential to facilitate a lot line adjustment subdivision, and this would create 1 vacant lot for residential housing. The daycare, which is currently mostly on lot 15, would remain in place and would be unaffected. And it would remain zoned institutional. This rezoning aligns with the residential land use in the OCP and would not result in any significant impacts to the surrounding area. The applicant has also submitted a parking plan which demonstrates that the existing parking area for the daycare would be unaffected and would continue to be accommodated on that lot 15 portion and the larger lot that is created through this subdivision. In terms of the public notice, staff did mail 79 letters to surrounding properties to notify them of the date and time of first reading, and no letters were received in response. For this application, the Local Government Act does prohibit a public hearing as the zoning amendment is consistent with the OCP and the purpose is for housing. Administration recommends that the amending bylaw be given first and second reading. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions and comments? Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just curious, and perhaps you don't have an answer, and perhaps the answer is just because. But when I look at the resulting 2 lots, the residential lot that's being created doesn't seem to fit in with the remainder of the neighborhood as to its frontage size and direction. And I was wondering why they wouldn't be divided right-left instead of, well, I guess it's north-south instead of east-west, so that you would have 2 lots that were essentially the same size and fit in with the remainder of lots that front on 8th Avenue. And again, just asking because it seemed to me more appropriate, but that doesn't mean it's not more appropriate to the way they've suggested it from the landowners. Thank you.
Through Madam Mayor, this is the application received by the applicant and how they've applied to subdivide their lot, and it is within, it is larger than the minimum frontage permitted by the zoning, and we've accepted it as such.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that zoning amendment 4521 Dogwood Street, bylaw number 5156, be now introduced and read a first time.
Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Solda. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the zoning amendment 4521 Dogwood Street, bylaw number 5156, be read a second time.
Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Solda. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carried. And moving on to item number 3 on our agenda, fees and charges bylaw number 5125-4, 2026.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The report before you is to present a fees and charges bylaw number 5125-4, 2026 for council consideration. If adopted, the bylaw will amend and replace Schedule K within fees and charges bylaw, this fees and charges bylaw, to reflect revised terminology and updated fees. As part of the city's comprehensive review of municipal fees and charges, Schedule K has been updated to establish a consolidated Parks, Recreation, and Culture fee framework. During the initial update, some items required further market review. The schedule now introduces a standardized fee structure across recreation facilities and establishes mechanisms for future fee adjustments through annual CPI increases and periodic market reviews. The proposed amendments include the removal of per piece per hour referenced in other parks, recreation, and culture fees, the addition of rental fees for the inner field or track at Bob Daly Stadium, and further refinements of facility rental user group structures, and a clear definitions of youth and adult ice rental rates at the Alberni Valley Multiplex. In all, no fees in the Schedule K were increased. The proposed amendments are intended to improve and provide clear and more consistent fee structures following the same formula throughout.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Patola, would you like to read this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that fees and charges bylaw amendment bylaw number 5125-4, 2026 be now introduced and read a first time.
Moved by Councillor Patola, seconded by Councillor Dame. Any comments? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Councillor Patola.
Madam Mayor, I move that fees and charges bylaw amendment bylaw number 5125-4, 2026 be read a second time.
Moved by Councillor Patola, seconded by Councillor Dame. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Councillor Patola.
Madam Mayor, I move that fees and charges bylaw amendment bylaw number 5125-4, 2026 be read a third time.
Moved by Councillor Patola, seconded by Councillor Mealy. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Thanks, everyone. We'll move on to correspondence for action. We have 2 items today, and the first one is an email dated July 27th, 2026 from the Organizing Committee for the Equinox Garlic Festival Planning Group for their 2026 Equinox Garlic Festival. Councillor Solda, would you like to read this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move that council authorize the Spirit Square Farmers Market to utilize additional space in Spirit Square on Saturday, September 26, 2026, as outlined in the request for the 2026 Equinox Garlic Festival.
Moved by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Patola. Any comments? Councillor Solda.
If you've never been to a garlic festival, it's actually pretty good. I went last year and I had a great time. Hard to believe, but I did.
I've never been to a garlic festival. I'll have to check it out this year. Thanks, Councillor Solda. Any other comments? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried, none opposed. Item number 2, we have a letter dated July 20th, 2026, requesting council consideration to waive building permit fees for the Foundry Port Alberni Health Unit, and that is from ADAPS Youth and Family Services. Councillor Solda. Sorry, Councillor Hager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For those who don't know, a Foundry is a province-wide network of integrated health and wellness services for youth aged 12 to 24, offering free, confidential, and accessible support both in person and online. So we're very lucky to have been chosen to be part of this network, and now they're madly trying to fundraise to actually build the building. So every penny counts here. So I'd like to move that council direct staff to work the Alberni Drug and Alcohol Prevention Service, ADAPS, to explore the community investment program and other grant opportunities to support cost associated with the Foundry Port Alberni Health Center project.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Haggard, seconded by Councillor Patola. I'll just echo the words shared by Councillor Haggard. We are extremely fortunate to have a foundry coming to Port Alberni, but as we know, there is a funding gap, and ADAPS is working very hard to fundraise to close the gap and be able to build this really valuable investment in the youth of the Alberni Valley. I really want to recognize the work that ADAPS has done already. I know they're partnering with many local organizations. I actually hear from members of the public all the time what we need is a youth center, and we need more intentional investment in the youth of the Alberni Valley, preventative, so that we can raise healthy people to contribute positively to our community and society. And the concept that Foundry has come up with is fantastic. It's working in a lot of other communities, and I think it's going to be a really incredible addition to our community and investment in the youth of the Valley once it comes to fruition. So really happy to support this, and of course it's just supporting it at this point by sending it to the community investment program and looking for opportunities, but I'm hoping that it comes back with recommendation to fund through that program because I do think it's a very worthwhile initiative. Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will not repeat everything that you said because I agree wholeheartedly. And as far as everything Councillor Haggard said, I agree wholeheartedly. It's a great program and it's definitely needed in the community. There is a funding gap. And for that reason, many communities don't apply for it. And I just wanted to recognize the courage that ADAPS has in realizing that it's going to be an uphill battle the whole way, but they've taken it on for this community, and I think we will do nothing but benefit. Thank you.
Absolutely, well said. Councillor Solda.
I agree with everything that's been said, but Madam Mayor, unfortunately, a lot of people in Port Alberni don't, when you talk about the foundry to them and what it's all about, they go, well, we have one in Port Alberni. So they're getting it mixed up with the foundry out in Port Alberni because it's called the same thing. Maybe a slight different play in words, but everybody understands it's that. So it's the messaging and how it's getting out there and the foundry being called the foundry and the other foundry. So just wanted to bring that out there so people recognize it's not what they think it is out there.
Very important distinction, and yes, it is very different. And this is a youth services building to provide all sorts of wraparound youth supports on demand. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just, maybe not drop off your scrap metal on Anderson Avenue is what Councillor Solda is saying. So, but understandable. I've heard that too, and I've had to explain that. So that's okay, but that's something I'm okay with explaining. So I guess my question is, and if I'm not on behalf of the group, but has this been sent to the regional district? Have we seen it at the regional district? Is this something we should pass to the regional district?
They have done a presentation at regional district, yes.
Thank you. Okay. Would somebody like to make the motion? Oh, Councillor Haggard made it. Thank you. Sorry. Motion has been moved and seconded. Seeing no more comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. On to proclamations. Item number 1, we have a letter dated August 10th, 2026, requesting that the month of October be proclaimed as Community Inclusion Month in Port Alberni, and that is from the Port Alberni Association for Community Living. Councillor Solda, would you like to make the motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that the council, on behalf of the Port Alberni Association of the Community Living, proclaim the month of October 2026 as Community Inclusion Month in Port Alberni.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Mealy. Any comments? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And item number 2, I forgot about this one. This is Hometown Takeover Canada, but this is our own proclamation. And so this is a proclamation brought forward by the City of Port Alberni to proclaim, and I will move it, we will move that Council proclaim August 28th, 2026 as Brian and Sarah Balmer Hometown Takeover Canada Day in the City of Port Alberni. Seconded by Councillor Haggard. So, of course, as many of you know, Hometown Takeover is wrapping up this week. Much work has been done in our community. I think the team, of course, led by Brian and Sarah, but extending far beyond them to a really dedicated and fantastic group that has been very present in our community. I think they've done an incredible job of really just boosting the morale, of reminding people what we have in this community that we can all feel so extremely proud of, and really showing off our community. So this is just a way to recognize and appreciate them, although I know what they actually want is a Balmer Road, because they noted in one of the first days that they were here that we actually have a Napier Street, which is of course Ben and Erin Napier. So they're like, how do we get a Balmer Road? Anyways, we'll work on that at another time, but this is just a fun way to appreciate the work that they've done in our community. So that's been moved and seconded. Councillor Mealy.
No, I'm just saying Napier's a small street. I think we just rename that street if they like.
I think that would be their preference. Okay, seeing no other comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Moving on to correspondence for information, I will go to our corporate officer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just 2 items today, the first being the quarterly report from the Office of the Ombudsperson for April 1st through June 30th, and secondly, a letter from UBCM in response to Council's submitted resolution regarding creating a framework for intergovernmental relations with First Nations. And they're just recognizing that it won't be going forward to UBCM, given that they've made some new policy criteria, including existing policy. And so those resolutions that have been brought forward prior will not be considered again. However, I'll just note that AVICC has reached out recently, and they are working together on behalf of all municipalities to move forward this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any items councillors would like to speak to? Seeing none, would somebody like to move receipt? Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And report from in camera. Back to our corporate officer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just 1 item today, and that is execution of a license of occupation agreement with C Much, carrying on business as the C Much Company for the use of a designated area with included Sea Haven Marina for the operation of an artisan retail gallery business for a term effective August 1st, 2026 and expiring July 31st, 2028. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And council reports. Any items councillors would like to speak to? Seeing none, would somebody like to move receipt of council reports? Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. On the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. New business, item number 1, we have Fleet and Equipment Management Policy 4004-4.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. The report before Council presents the proposed Fleet and Equipment Management Policy 4004-4. The policy establishes a single corporate framework for the acquisition, replacement, use, maintenance, and disposal of city-owned fleet and equipment. It integrates asset management, financial planning, and sustainability considerations into fleet decision-making and establishes the frameworks staff will apply as future renewal decisions are brought forward through the normal capital planning, budget, and procurement processes. Together with the Equipment Replacement Reserve Fund, the policy supports a long-term strategy for funding and renewing fleet and equipment while strengthening life cycle planning, accountability, and consistent decision-making. Administration recommends that Council approve Fleet and Equipment Management Policy 4004-4 and rescind the existing vehicle use policy and vehicle idling policy, which have been consolidated into the supporting guidelines and procedures to the policy before Council today. The Manager of Operations and I are available to answer Council's questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Solda.
So a quick question on the rescinding the idling vehicle use as well as the 2-minute idling. I'm just, it's not, I don't see it written in this policy. Is it, and then I went looking somewhere else and I couldn't really find it, but shouldn't it be written in the policy too?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for that. The intent was to move that policy language to procedural language, so it's actually been moved to a procedure that supports the policy. So there is still a fuel use and idling procedure, as well as a vehicle use and operator authorization. And in particular for the fuel use and idling, the idling is moved from 2 minutes to 30 seconds. So that is still within the supporting documents for the policy, but the intent there was to move it from policy to procedural language.
And cell phone usage too, is it in there too? I'm just thinking of that one.
There is within, that's also a great comment as well, there is within the vehicle use and operator authorization procedures, some language around cell phones.
So it is written so somewhere. Okay, thank you.
Exactly, yeah. So there are guidelines that go along with the policy that help to support and implement the policy. There are 12 procedural documents that go along with that, as well as the guidelines. And so when the policy was developed, it was a multi-departmental effort. And so we reached out to infrastructure services, everyone that uses fleet, which has a large profile within our organization. And we were able to pull as much information as we could in to include really important things like you mentioned there. So yes, there are a number of procedural documents that go along with the policy.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I see that this policy will be reviewed at a minimum every 4 years, perhaps more often as things change. I wonder if when that review happens, we could have the actual procedures included. I admire the writing style here. It's the way I think rules should be written, with enabling documents and then the nitty-gritty left into the nitty-gritty. But when council is clearly concerned with things like idling pollution, it's good to be able to read it for ourselves so that we know that the past directions are still being followed. But I thank you for the new bylaw or policy, and perhaps in the future we'll just have more reading for people that might not want to do it like I do. Thanks.
Certainly.
Thank you. Councillor Solda.
I'm back. Sorry, I couldn't read my own writing, and as Councillor is talking, I'm reading. Oh, yeah, okay. So my question is, so our fleet, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. So our fleet has an estimate value of 25 million. Should this policy require regular reporting, update to council on our fleet condition, utilization, replacements, and forecasts of our equipment? It's not, it looks like every 4 years you're going to come before council to give us a report, an update, or are you going to be doing it every budget time like we normally get? How is that going to work?
Yeah, I'll look to the CEO here to answer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a governance policy. It's just identifying the value of our fleet at this time. What we would be doing is following the replacement in our regular processes through the financial plan. So you will get information. We do the annual review as far as what is coming up for replacement, whether we're going to extend the life. So we are doing a lot of that operational work, and any recommendations for budget come forward based on the replacement timelines, the life that's left on that. So those will not change. This is just a governance document for council.
Okay, so it's basically status quo and everything's good. Fine.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Haggard. Yep.
Can I read the motions? I move that council approve fleet and equipment management policy 4004-4.
Moved by Councillor Haggard, seconded by Councillor Patola. Any other comments? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Councillor Haggard.
I'd like to move that council rescind the vehicle use policy dated August 13, 2001, and vehicle idling policy dated April 14, 2008, which have been consolidated into the fleet and equipment management policy 4004-4.
Moved by Councillor Haggard, seconded by Councillor Mealy. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Thank you very much. On to item number 2, which is a motion from Councillor Solda.
So, Madam Mayor, I'm going to read the motion and
Sorry,
Point of order,
Councillor
I'm
Dame
sorry.
first.
I'm going to recuse myself as my business is in this area. Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry. It's okay. We'll give Councillor Dame a moment to leave, and then we'll go back to Councillor Solda.
so I'm going to read, first I'm going to do a
Sorry,
quick-
one more. Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I should probably join Councillor Dame. I'm not sure exactly the physical boundaries of Uptown, but 6th and Argyle may be included, so I should probably leave.
Okay, thank you very much. We will wait for Councillor Patola to leave the room as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate that. I just maybe would like clarification on what the conflict could be for Councillor Patola. 6 and Argyle was a little vague, I would believe. Yeah, I understand what it is, but I would like just a bit
Maybe
more.
you'll just go to our corporate officer for the level of detail required for a councillor to recuse in terms of policy.
I would have to look up the specifics so that I don't misquote the charter. But essentially, it's based on what they believe their conflict is. But I certainly think that you can ask for an expansion on that for understanding if it's not clear.
Okay, would we like to ask Councillor Patola?
I just would like to ask for an extension on that, on exactly what the conflict is.
Is somebody able to call Councillor Patola back in? Councillor Patola, I think there's just a request for clarity on what your specific conflict is.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So it's because I'm clearly involved in a business that operates on 6th and Argyle, and I shouldn't be making decisions that may benefit that business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we will go to Councillor Solda.
So, Madam Mayor, I remember when I showed you this motion that I was going to present, and you asked me why now. And so I just want to do a little history why now. So the motion fits in with the direction of the OCP.
Sorry, Councillor Solda, could you start by reading the motion?
Oh, sure, I can do the motion first. Okay. Now I, okay, just give me 1 second here. Okay. So, and then I can do the history part of it because I think it's really important. Madam Mayor, I move that the council direct administration to investigate options and estimated costs for the undertaking public and stakeholder engagement and developing an Upper Third Avenue revitalization concept plan, and that administration reviews all relevant previous studies, plans, designs, public consultation results, and recommendations concerning Upper Third Avenue and the Uptown area, including identifying which recommendations were completed, which remain outstanding, and whether the outstanding recommendations are still practical and relevant. And that the previous work or a plain language summary of it be made available during public engagement process so participants can consider earlier proposals when providing feedback. And that the proposed engagement includes local merchants, property owners, residents, community organizations, accessibility representatives, and public safety partners to determine what improvements the community would like to see and what is practical and financially reasonable. And that the engagement process includes council's visions, priorities, and desired outcomes for Upper Third Avenue, taking into consideration the feedback received from the merchants, property owners, residents, and community partners. And that the proposed concept plan aligns with the OCP and considers existing zoning and property uses, temporary use permits, active commercial storefronts, public safety, pedestrian safety, accessibility, parking, streetscape improvements, landscaping, lighting, public art, and future development. And that the proposed plan addresses vacant, derelict, and poorly maintained buildings and identify possible incentives, partnerships, redevelopment opportunities, bylaw, and enforcement tools available to improve those properties. And further, that the administration report back to council with a recommended scope of work, estimate costs, possible grants, and other funding sources and options for the phase implementation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Mealy. Go ahead, Councillor Solda.
So, Madam Mayor, so what I'm looking at, and the reason why I came up with this motion, it's been a long time coming. I know probably about 4 years ago, the city wanted to do some work up there. 8 years ago, was it that long ago? Okay, 8 years ago, we wanted to do some work up there, and of course, it didn't happen. Not everybody could be on the same page, so we took it and did some other work somewhere else. This aligns with the OCP plan that we want to revitalize that particular area, and I look at what's happening up in that in the Third Avenue, the Upper Third Avenue. First of all, Johnson Road. Let's go back to Johnson Road. Doesn't have any more available storefronts or anything that's empty. Maybe there's one, and now Third Avenue is where we have to populate. We have new apartment, Macola Housing, that's opening up there. That's going to populate that particular area. We have the health unit. We have the 7-Eleven that has been converted into a dentist office. There's so much up in that particular area. Now it's time, and we've worked on the SOMAS. We are working on SOMAS with the developers. At the Harbor Key, we are going to be doing Argyle work soon. So the natural next part of our area in Port Alberni should be Third Avenue and start working on that. So this is why I brought it forward. It's not going to be done for right away. I don't expect it to be done. It's going to be hard, but I just think it's the right area and to take a look at. And there's new people. Some of the buildings are filling up with new stores and they're up there, but there's a lot of buildings that we need to tend to, and this could all tie in it as one. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments? Councillor Haggard.
I think this is just a natural extension of the work that's already being done down at Harbor Key and now Argyle Street, and let's just bring it up forward to Third Avenue and have it all work together as one. Thanks.
Is there comments? Well, I will just say that I think this is a great initiative. I would love to see improvement in the Uptown. My only hesitance on this is timing, because I think it's one thing to ask staff to go out and do work, and this is a decent amount of work. Probably needs to be brought back for a budget, for potentially in community consultation and engagement, building a plan. Like, there is quite a bit of work involved in what's put forward here. I would love to see this move forward. However, I think given the timing, it's a lot of potential work to commit when there may not be future council buy-in for that project. So I think this is really well worded. I think this is the right approach to determine exactly what updates should look like and what the community actually wants to see in terms of updates. My preference would be that we take this motion exactly as it is, because I think it's well framed for what would need to be done, and we refer it to 2027 strategic planning as a specific item. The reason I suggest that is, assuming there will be a new council in a few months, that council will likely want to put together their own strategic plan. And I would hate to see us now direct a significant amount of work that then moves to, that doesn't end up raising to the top of a new council's strategic plan. So I would like to see this discussed at strategic planning and maybe like brought forward in this regard as a request for a comprehensive plan, rather than us determine now that staff start that work and then have that staff time and potentially actual money resourcing for engagement be kind of wasted if the next council doesn't determine that Uptown is their priority. So I think that's my thoughts. I'm supportive of it, of the concept generally. I just want to make sure that we don't start down a path of doing work that maybe the next council might not be bought into. And I think the timing of it is a little challenging in that regard. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I understand your comments, definitely. And we wouldn't want to waste staff time and therefore money. However, I'm fine with it going to strategic planning for next year. It's totally fine. I'm fine with it happening now. I don't think there's one person I've talked to that doesn't think we need to do something on 3rd Avenue. That's just what it is. And so I saw this from Councillor Solden, appreciate her motion very much, to bring it forward and to at least get that work started sooner rather than later. So I'm planning on supporting this at the vote. But again, I'm not hurt if it goes to strategic planning, allowing the next council to talk about it. But I do believe, and I also don't want to hamstring a new council, but I think it should be on their top of priority list.
Yeah, I think I agree with that completely. I think it should be at the top of the priority list. I just think it's a bit of a sensitive time given how close we are to the next election and the scope of work that's being requested. But I think I'm fine either way as well. Councillor Haggard.
When I spoke in support of this motion, I assumed that it wouldn't be started until 2027 anyway, just because of timing with the elections and trying to train a new council and budget process right away and so on and so forth. So I didn't assume that it would start until next year anyway. So I think we can approve the motion and just say that we will proceed in 2027.
Councillor Solda.
So that's why I said I don't expect it done yesterday. I would say I would expect it done yesterday. So I'm assuming it's not going to start right away because we're still working on the Argyle part of it too, right? So it would be natural, and I would agree that we could pass it and go look at it in 2027 or the future council.
Thank you. Andrew.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So all good discussion. I think we recognize the need to do this. We do have a lot of studies and reports that we can bring forward. We also have capacity issues, and I thank Council for identifying that and timeline. When we talk to new council, that's a perfect opportunity to bring forward everything that we're working on so that they're caught up to speed. This could be one of the components that we do talk about at strategic planning. So I think I would plan on bringing that forward so that we can give some context to what's going on and see what priorities are set by council. So I think this is good to keep in the public purview and a good opportunity for us to bring forward to the new council.
Thank you. Councillor Solda.
And I also look at it, the public needs to see that we are actually trying to move forward and doing different things in the community. And 3rd Avenue has been talked about a lot. And with everything that's going on in the upper third and stuff like that, it just fits in right now. And maybe the derelict building owners that are up in this area too will get, hey, we're trying to move forward here. We are already trying to move forward with the TUPs and trying to get that in order. So why not get this on the books and let the future councils take a look? Okay, this is what a great initiative or not a great initiative. Their choice. They can always take it back. It doesn't mean that they have to follow suit. But I'm okay. I think it should be on the books and it should be passed. And from there, look at it in 2027. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a great comment. Maybe I could just ask our CAO, with the motions as it's written right now, will there need to be, to start the work, or can we start this work without adding a financial contribution for it? Or is this going to require a consultant to do public engagement and community input?
Madam Mayor, what I think I would propose is that we have a look and see what we would have to do to undertake some of the work internally first. If we do feel there is a capacity need, that's when we can bring forward options to council as far as resources such as a consultant. But this time we would take back the direction from council to see what we can do internally, understanding we do have some capacity issues right now to do some of the work that we're working on, but we'll bring forward that report to council.
Thank you. I think I'm comfortable with it then. If it doesn't need a consultant to be hired to get started, my hesitation, and I know it was stated that everybody in town wants us to do something with Uptown. I actually would take us back to 8 years ago when we tried to, or roughly 8 years ago when we did try to do something with Uptown, and it actually was extremely controversial. A lot of people very upset that we were going to invest in infrastructure in the Uptown area. So I don't think it is as, I think we should be cautious about assuming that that is where the community would like us to invest in improvement. That said, I would love to see improvement in that area. I think that this is a good initiative. I just want to ensure that we don't hire consultants or, spend money if that money is not going to end up being actioned by the next council, just given the timing and then, the inclusions in here around public engagement. I want to be cognizant of that because we don't want to be spending money on something that won't actually end up being actioned. That said, I'm happy to support it if we can look at how we can accommodate it within our existing workload. And yeah, Councillor Solda and then Councillor Haggard.
So, Madam Mayor, times have changed. And what happened 8 years ago doesn't mean you've heard this before from me. Times have changed. What happened 8 years is not necessarily what people believe today. And that's how I look at things. I've learned that the hard way. And so we need to take another look at where we're going. And there's such a positive in the community. And yes, people would like to see the Redford Street area. They would like to see more done on Johnson Road. We've really done a few things on Johnson, and it's all good, but it's not perfect, but nothing's perfect. So this is a great start. And I just wanted to make sure something happened. We have budget. We're still going to be working on budget no matter, and I just wanted to make sure we were covered there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Solda. Last time you said times have changed in a council meeting, I think we all got that note on our desk for like the next 6 months. A little Cindy Solda, times have changed quote. Councillor Haggard.
Keeping all these comments in mind, I'm wondering if it would be strategic to add in another motion or a separate motion that this will be moved to the 2027 strategic plan. So that way it's not forgotten about and it's still at the top of our priority list, but it's not putting pressure on staff to do it right now because they're so busy.
I think that really was my suggestion, that rather than passing it as a motion today to direct staff to do the work, that we refer it to be formally discussed at 2027 strategic planning. My position is that that is the best practice approach, just based on where we're at and the amount of work that is included in the motion in order to have it done correctly. But I'm fine with however council wants to do it. We could approve the motion. We could add and refer it to 2027 strategic planning as well, so that we kind of do both. Okay. Would you like to add that as an amendment?
Do I make the amendment or does Councillor Solda make it? Okay, I'd like to make the amendment that we add that this be referred to the 2027 strategic plan.
Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Mealy and Councillor Solda.
So you're just saying take it all and put it at the strategic plan for 2027, but I like the word "and add" because that gives you still, as the CAO said, they could take a look at things that wouldn't cost. Am I missing that? Did I interpret that wrong?
Yeah, so Madam Mayor, we could obviously look at what this resolution would require and then bring back a report to council. That might be in line with the timing of the strategic plan. So is that a good time to check in with the new council to ensure that that direction and that effort is still something that the new council would like to see?
So I would agree with that. And it's just because I don't want it to be taken off the books or anything like that. I believe that we should be at least doing some steps towards revitalizing that area anyways. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do just want to note as well that I believe staff was going to bring back, or maybe we already did bring back an update on the Uptown revitalization plan that was done recently. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
We were going to put out communications, a bit of an update. We hadn't planned on bringing it to council, but that's certainly an option if council wishes.
So I think that's a start of, that's the most recent plan that's been done on the uptown area. So some of that work is maybe underway already. Councillor Solda.
And just one further thing, I just look at, there's so many issues in the upper Third Avenue, or not upper, but just on Third Avenue and stuff like that. And the more we start taking pride in that this particular area, it could make a switch. It could. I'm not saying it will, but it's a start. And yeah, I think we need to do that.
Thank you. Okay, so we have an amendment which keeps the whole motion as it was previously read and adds one more line, which is, we refer this to 2027 strategic planning. Any more comments on the amendment? Seeing none on the amendment, all in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? And any additional comments on the motion as amended? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Motion carried. Thank you, Councillor Solda. And let's get those councillors back. Okay, and we will move on to item number 3, and this one is from myself. I will read the motion. It's for an accessible and inclusive playground, and it is that council direct administration in alignment with the Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture master plan currently underway to, 1, work collaboratively with the Inclusive Play Society, local association, local accessibility advocates, and other relevant community stakeholders to develop a concept and implementation plan for an accessible and inclusive playground in the city of Port Alberni. 2, identify a suitable city-owned location that is centrally accessible and supports meaningful community use, considering proximity to neighborhoods, transit, parking, washrooms, trails, schools, and other recreation amenities. 3, ensure the proposed playground design applies inclusive and universal design principles, including where feasible, barrier-free site access and accessible parking, accessible pathways and surfacing, inclusive play features for children with mobility, sensory, cognitive, developmental, and communication-related disabilities, accessible seating, shade, gathering areas, and caregiver amenities, opportunities for intergenerational use and social connection, and design elements reflecting Port Alberni's natural setting, history, culture, and community identity. 4, prepare preliminary capital and life cycle cost estimates, including design consultation, site preparation, equipment, accessible surfacing, installation maintenance, replacement reserves, and potential operating impacts. And lastly, identify potential funding and partnership opportunities, including contributions from the Inclusive Play Society, senior government grants, community fundraising, service clubs, local businesses, I can't say that word today, too much talking today, philanthropical, thank you, Councillor Mealy, organizations, and report back to council with recommended site options, consultation findings, a conceptual design approach, cost estimates, funding strategy, implementation timeline, and any required amendments to the city's financial plan or capital plan. Thank you to our corporate services director for writing that motion for me from my ramblings. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Solda. I will just speak to this coming forward. As many people in the community will be aware, we have had representatives from the Inclusive Play Society, one of whom is here today, come to council and ask us to make investments in an inclusive playground. I think that there has been broad support from council for that. However, we have been intending to wait on our Parks, Recreation and Culture Master Plan. I think that that is a very reasonable step before we take action. However, recently there was a discussion of potentially losing one of our more accessible playgrounds, although we don't have any fully accessible playgrounds, with the potential removal of the Harbour Quay playground. Happy to report that playground is actually going to be staying for the foreseeable future. I'm not sure if we've provided that update, but as of today, that playground will be remaining in place, but recognizing that it just happens to be accessible and only somewhat accessible and only accessible to some people still. So it may be one of our more accessible playgrounds in the community, but it is still not the level at which we want to be. However, that playground being potentially removed, I think really started a conversation about the need to expedite some of at least the planning work in the community. The Inclusive Play Society has been fundraising, doing a fantastic job of gaining local support and financial support for a potential new playground. And I would like us to commit to doing the planning so that we can make that new playground a reality one day. It may not be in the very, very short term near future, but I think if we don't get that work started, then it will be further and further out. So I'd like to prioritize that work to ensure that if we do lose the playground at the Harbour Quay, even if we are replacing it with something better, I want to make sure that we have a properly deemed inclusive playground in our community so that all of our children and our community's children can enjoy that playground. Councillor Dame.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for bringing this forward. I think that sometimes we talk about our priorities and our things and the things that we're passionate about and the things that we think that are important to our community, but due to costs and concerns and priorities and things, we talk a lot and we fail to actually take those like very important first steps and lay that first brick. And so I think that this is really important. This is something that I think that the community has spoken loud and clear on as a priority, and I'm really grateful to see this being brought forward, at least this first step. You know, where exactly this goes, we don't know yet, but I think it's important that we do this. So yeah, I'll be supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Dame. Councillor Patola and then Councillor Solda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wonder if the corporate officer could bring up page 111 from today's agenda. As she does that, Madam Mayor. I think absolutely we should be having inclusive playgrounds, and I remember the presentation that was made to council, and it's not, one of the responses was not that we should have an inclusive playground, but that all playgrounds should be inclusive and accessible. The reason I'm asking for page 111 to be brought up is because that's the page out of the OCP that sets out a map of where parks are in this community. And I agree that we need to have a accessible playground, but we also need to have accessible playgrounds, accessible parks. And if one looks at that map, it seems like there's a lot of green on it, but the green on that map is really just all wild areas and trailways. There are no significant amounts of neighborhood parks. There are one or two. Most of them that we do have no facilities at them, no washroom facilities, and no play facilities. There's a park on close to River Road, which I've been contacted by a parent who says, can we even just bring our own stuff to put in the park? Because all we have is an empty piece of grass. It's not the one on River Road, it's the one behind River Road by, yes, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Mealy. So, one of my questions earlier on to the Director of Parks and Rec was, in the master plan, is there any thoughts about dispersal of playgrounds within the city? Because of course, accessibility means, can a parent walk to the playground with a 2-year-old and within a reasonable distance? And then can a parent who wants to get to an inclusive playground walk to that inclusive playground with an individual that has different needs and may not be as ambulatory? So I agree that number 1 and number 2 are kind of check marks and fall into that now, next, later categories. It seems to me, though, and I commend staff and Madam Mayor on ensuring that the motion starts with in alignment with the direction of the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Master Plan, because I really do think it needs to be. I think inclusivity, and I'm not trying to derail the concept of inclusivity being one where the features as set out in your III are all there. I think that should be in every playground, and I don't think we should be focusing necessarily on one site, because I don't think one site will be accessible at all. One site means that people will have to get into vehicles to get to that one site to have an inclusive playground. So I totally support 1 and 2. When we get to 3, 4, 5, etc., we're into actual playground design. And I think that those items should be left to the next council, the next budgetary process, and the next strategic plan, and the Parks and Rec master plan. So I think what I'm saying is this is a good motion. It's not good enough for me, because for me, it would say that we identify all the places where we should have parks, and we identify the ways that we can make each of those parks accessible and inclusive to all. I wouldn't want this motion to delay the master plan and delay achieving that objective. They're really one and the same objectives, but like I said, mine is, my desire is a little broader based. So I can say that I would certainly be supporting 1 and 2 of this motion. 3, 4, 5, and 6. I think I would need to be convinced by other members of this council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will just first start by saying that there's no intent to delay the master plan through this work, rather to create this work alongside and in conjunction with the master planning work. And we knew that that was important when we put the motion together, because I think this council has been very intentional about not going around the master planning process. However, the Parks and Recreation master plan is 85% complete, so the basis is there for us to now start working from. I understand from comments from staff that it actually does recommend focusing on a community park for inclusivity. And then, of course, adding inclusive components to all of our parks. We often used to quote Councillor Helen Poon saying, when you focus on everything, you focus on nothing. And while I would love to see all of our parks fully inclusive, you're right, that is the only way to have inclusive parks, is for all of them to be inclusive, so that everyone has a park in their neighborhood to visit that suits their needs. However, I think the right place to start is somewhere, and I would love to see us focus on creating a park that is fully inclusive, that welcomes in all children of our community and visitors in a meaningful way. So that's really the intent of this, is to create one inclusive park, not to say that all of our parks shouldn't be inclusive, because I think you're absolutely right. That should be our ultimate goal, and I believe that is what the Parks and Recreation Master Plan will ultimately recommend, is that all of our parks going forward are built, designed, and created for our community with inclusivity top of mind. So appreciate your comments. Councillor Solda.
Madam Mayor, would you be willing to add accessible washrooms, which it doesn't state, sensory inclusive quiet spaces, and making sure the consultation includes people with lived experience, parents and caregivers, and also the ACRD Accessibility Committee should be included in all.
I think adding the ACRD Accessibility Committee makes a lot of sense. There is already a note in the motion around including consultation and working with the Inclusive Place Society. So I think we have the people with lived experience piece covered there. I think that, and what was your first one, sorry?
Accessible washrooms, sensory and inclusive quiet spaces.
Thank you. Happy to add those as a piece of this. I think that most of the conversations around an accessible playground, an inclusive playground, have focused on Blair Park, partly because there are already washroom facilities there. It is already set back from roadways. It has a lot of the components of an inclusive park as a foundation already there. So happy to include them in the motion as a friendly amendment.
I think it's important, Madam Mayor.
For sure. Thank you. Other comments? Okay, we're not going to do a formal amendment for Councillor Solda's additions, but they've been noted. Wonderful. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried, none opposed. Thanks, everyone. And move on to item number 4, and this is mine as well. Support for federal operational funding for BC Ferries. Many of you will have seen that our MP Gord Johns has been really pushing this initiative. Many municipalities in his riding and on Vancouver Island have written letters to formally support the work that Gord Johns is doing, and I wanted to add our names to that. I think this is an easy item that we all have a good amount of understanding on already, and I will read it because I told Councillor Solda to read her motion before she spoke to it, so I'll do the same. That Council direct administration to prepare and send a letter of support for motion M35, federal operational support for BC Ferries, introduced by Gord Johns, Member of Parliament for Courtenay Alberni, urging the Government of Canada to modernize federal ferry funding policies and provide fair, stable, and long-term operational support for BC Ferries as essential national transportation infrastructure. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Haggard. Any comments? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carried. And item number 5, personal mobility and road safety from Councillor Solda.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I'll explain after, but I'm getting good at this. Madam Mayor, I move that the council direct staff to review the City of Port Alberni's existing traffic regulation bylaw 2009, bylaw number 4670, including current enforcement practices, and identify any gaps relating to electric skateboards, electric kick scooters, e-bikes, and other personal mobility devices, including unsafe riding practices such as excessive speed, carrying passengers, or more than one person riding on a device. And that staff report back on opportunities to improve public safety and enforcement, including what offenses may be enforced by the city bylaw office, it should be office, rather than relying on the RCMP resources, and whether amendments to the existing city bylaw are recommended. And further, that staff review approaches being used by Nanaimo and other Vancouver Island municipalities, as well as applicable provincial regulations.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Mealy. And Councillor Solda for comments.
So, Madam Mayor, this our existing bylaw is 17 years old. Well, we certainly have changed in mobility around the city, and again, the world has changed, and time has changed. So I believe we need to really update, because now we have electric scooters. I've seen people doubling on electric scooters without a helmet, and a younger brother or sister or a sibling, you know, and they're going, and we also need to look at the speed that they're going at. Some are going like crazy, and you know, it just takes one person falling off a scooter and smashing their head. My daughter rode a 10-speed and landed up breaking her helmet in half and breaking her leg in 3 places from the knee down. I mean, that's just riding a bike. So people, even seniors that are riding their little scooters, are driving it like a car in the middle of Johnson Road, and you're following it like, are you serious? You know, like, or here on 3rd and Argyle here, other people have seen it, where this young lady is riding her scooter, a scooter board, and she's ducking, crouching down, and she's in the middle of an intersection. Like, oh my God, what if somebody is driving by and a trucker comes by and he just takes his eye off the road? She's gone, right? Or the person is gone. So and you know, back in the day when this bylaw, it was just to do with skateboards at that time, and it talked about no person shall propel, coast, ride, or any other way use a skateboard on any port, sidewalk, or any other public street. Well, everybody does it. And the ticket fine was $50, was a regular penalty, $37.50 if you paid early, and $62.50 if you paid late. Now, who in the heck has been enforcing this? No one. Who has time to enforce it? RCMP doesn't have time, but we did talk about bylaw doing other things that the RCMP we shouldn't be doing. So, and I did look in Nanaimo's, and bylaw is actually doing the enforcing. So does that mean we have to have another bylaw? I can't answer that. And I just think it's getting to be really ridiculous out there, how people are just going nuts on these scooters and different, even electric bikes too. So, you know, like, we need to do something, and you see the public talking about it, and it scares public members too when somebody's doing this, so I just want to get this, it's mainly safety, and I think we need to move forward on that matter.
Thank you very much. Councillor Haggard.
I believe that bicycles are already covered under the Motor Vehicle Act, because RCMP do give out tickets for speeding, going through a red light. You can't drive a bike while you're intoxicated. So I believe the bikes are already covered under that. However, that probably, I'm not sure about the skateboards and the scooters, how that's covered or if it's covered, but I know bikes are already covered.
I just think, and sure, your helmets are supposed to be being worn too, but not everybody wears a helmet, you know, and not everybody, it doesn't say you're supposed to wear a helmet for an electric scooter or anything like that. I just think the whole bylaw of 2009 needs to be updated to make it into this century. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. And it just takes one person to get, without getting emotional over it, killed or injured. And one person, and then everybody will go, oh, whoa, why didn't we do this in the first place?
Thank you, Councillor Solda. I'll go to Councillor Mealy, Councillor Patola, and Councillor Verbucki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate the motion coming forward by Councillor Solda. As Councillor Haggard said, I believe a lot of this has to be addressed in the Motor Vehicle Act. However, I would appreciate having a municipal ticket instead, especially for the youth in this town. I would hate to have someone, a youth, have something on their record because they were just not having their helmet or anything like that. But if there is something that needs to be addressed, I don't mind having a municipal ticket for it and addressing that in-house more along the lines for, especially for the youth. But I do appreciate what Councillor Solda is saying here today. I think every community around has these same issues, the same, you could say youth or whoever doing the same acts, and the RCMP is well aware. I think it was Maple Ridge, RCMP put out something not too long ago about addressing this, because, and I can only imagine Maple Ridge having a much larger problem with this. So I do appreciate the motion. I think a lot of it can be addressed in the Motor Vehicle Act, but I don't mind taking a look at it to see if there's any municipal ticket opportunities. And not only that, the money would come to us.
Thank you, Councillor Mealy. Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the intent of the motion, and I completely agree that it is an issue that needs to be dealt with. I think, though, that this is a bit of a shotgun approach, and I don't mean a shotgun that we can use on people that are riding e-scooters. I mean just a shotgun approach to tasking the administration with really extensive duties right at the end of a term when there are already rules in place for it, and there are already things that administration has been tasked with that they haven't been able to finish yet. Specifically with regards to the issue of electrified vehicles, small personal vehicles, without being an expert on the topic, I can say the question has been answered. They're illegal. That's the end of the story. RCMP, such as Maple Ridge, and has been duplicated by many RCMP detachments across the province, have put out notices or charts, Facebook posts saying what is legal and what is illegal. And these are clearly illegal. End of story. Except if a community has decided to join the Electric Kick Scooter Pilot Project, which is the project established in 2021 by the province to allow and permit individual municipalities to make bylaws and to make specific rules for their own community. Port Alberni has not joined that project, so Port Alberni does not have the same authorities that other municipalities such as Nanaimo might have. Good news, that project has been extended till 2028. So there is still time to join and utilize the authorities that are given by the province underneath that program, without which we can say as much as we want about municipal tickets, that we can't do it if we're not part of it, at least in my understanding. And if we are part of it, which would be a great idea, then maybe we'll try some new things. I do note, though, that this shotgun approach is much wider in application than just talking about electric vehicles. It's talking about streetscapes, because streetscapes influence where these vehicles can and can't be used, and those are rules that you could make under the electric kick scooter pilot project. It's bike lanes, where bike lanes are appropriate or not appropriate, how wide they are, and what type of bicycles can be in them. We would absolutely need the authority to enable peace officers to enforce those rules. And I think that perhaps before we jump in wholeheartedly, we should at least be getting that quarterly report from the RCMP inspector so that we could ask that inspector what tools they might need or what laws they are having trouble enforcing. Until then, it is illegal, and as with all breaches of law, I think what is incumbent upon individuals to do is observe, record, and report. And where those individuals, we don't all have cell phones, and I have one, but I'm slow with the camera. But I know Councillor Dame's children are very good with their cameras, and so that's part of the recording and reporting, is taking those pictures, getting that information that you can, and reporting it to the police so that they can investigate and potentially do something about it. So I would not support this motion now because of its overwhelming implications to staff, and that there are many simpler things that we could do first, such as joining the scooter pilot project, or even asking the inspector. So on that basis, although I think we definitely need to do something, I think that something is probably to be decided by future budgets and for future strat plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patola. Councillor Verbrugge, and then Councillor Solda.
The scooters, the electric bikes, bicycles, I don't think it's government's responsibility to teach parenting or common sense to people. We had one or two fatalities over here on 10th and they forget the other street, Dunbar, and nothing to say that it's not going to happen again. Freight truck could be going down 10th Avenue and an irresponsible person comes out of Dunbar and gets killed. It's for us to police this and enforce this. We can't afford it, plain and simple. I don't know what the solution is, but I don't think as government that it's our responsibility. So.
Thank you. Appreciate all the comments that have been made. I do just want to speak to the two tragedies that have happened on bikes in our communities, because I think it's really important just to clarify that those were both really unfortunate accidents, and definitely I think they were both deemed to be not the fault of the drivers or cyclists, but those were two teenagers that were killed in our community. So I just want to make sure we be cautious about statements around those two really unfortunate passings that happened. Councillor Solda.
So helmets are illegal. You're supposed to wear helmets, but there's nobody to enforce it. There's a lot of things that are supposed to happen that there's nobody here to enforce it. Government responsibility. There's a lot of downloading on government, which is not our responsibility. But is it our responsibility if somebody gets killed, in the fact that we could have done something to help mitigate it? What I'm asking is, this bylaw is 2009. That's 17 years ago. There was no electric skateboards. There was no electric kick scooters. There was no e-bikes and no other personal mobility devices. There was none of the seniors driving in their little scooters down the road. I mean, we had like a tricycle or a bike and a wagon if we were going to pull it. That's what we had in 2009. Well, and I look at it like that. So we now have people that are thinking that there are cars. Why should I get a car? I can get an electric scooter or I can get an electric bike. It'll do the same thing and it'll get me further distance away from Parksville, Qualicum, wherever you want to go, unless you have to charge. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm peeved. Yeah, I am a little, because this is really important, in this community. And I'm asking that 2009 bylaw doesn't have to be, again, done tomorrow, because there's a lot of research. I also state in here that the staff report back on opportunities to improve that and the issues on the second paragraph. And then further, that staff review approaches used by Nanaimo and other Vancouver Island municipalities. Now, if the other communities didn't think it was their responsibility, would they have a bylaw? So, there's some serious things happening here, and we don't have the bike paths like Nanaimo have from one end to the other end, or Victoria has their bike lanes like crazy all over the place. We don't have that. We have what we have. And so that is what I'm asking. I'm not asking for the world to be changed. And then, of course, the RCMP is already talking about how short they are with staffing, and totally understand that with everything that's happening with our emergency personnel, with the ambulance, the fire department. They've never been so busy, as well as our RCMP members. So that is really important. We've asked city bylaw to take a look at other things in this city to take place instead of the RCMP members. Why can't our bylaw officers? I know we'll probably won't have enough, but you see somebody riding a scooter or whatever, electric scooter or electric bike or that skateboard, ducking. Why can't they do anything? Why can't they fine? I just saw on the news that somebody, parent got fined in Victoria for their child riding, a 12-year-old was riding I don't know if it was an electric bike on the street, and the parent got the fine. So, parents have to take responsibility too in all this. So it's not a 12-year-old we're going to go after. So when you give me the law and stuff like that and tell me what's happening out there in the world, yeah, but who's there enforcing it? It's a joke. When people go in, oh, well, they're not going to do anything. We can do what we want, and then people laugh at those kind of things because we're not enforcing it. So anyways, I'll be quiet now.
Thank you, Councillor Solda. Before I go to Councillor Dame and I think Councillor Haggard, I appreciate all of the discussion that we're having. I actually read this motion. So first I want to say I appreciate the approach that was recommended by Councillor Patola as well. I think that we don't know what the right path forward is here. However, I am hearing a lot of alignment from Council that there is an issue that we would like to explore the options for. I read Councillor Solda's motion as open enough to include the initiatives and recommendations that were discussed by Councillor Patola. I think it's broad enough in the intent that it's really just asking staff to review what we have currently, report back on opportunities, and it gives a few options. It doesn't prescribe that we are going to move forward with those options. And further, for staff to, as a part of that process, look at what other municipalities are doing. So what other municipalities are doing is the program that was recommended or mentioned by Councillor Patola. I think that would naturally form part of the review that staff would complete. So I don't see these to the motion and the comments from Councillor Patola as competing. I see them as complementary to each other. For that reason, I think I'll support what has been put forward, and as long as we do keep it broad and really bringing back recommendations of best practice rather than prescribing exactly what is intended to be completed. I'll go to Councillor Dame and then Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say, so. No, but in all seriousness, it sort of was in part what I was gonna say is that what I'm feeling is that this motion asks for information, and that's what I feel that we need, that's what I need. We can see that there is a developing problem in our community, and I'm sure in the vast majority of communities, if not all. And I think that I would rather see, as Councillor Patola correctly pointed out, it is against the law right now. And it's happening regardless of that fact. And so I think that anytime rules are in place and people are refusing to follow them, and there's no real enforceable, realistic enforcement of it, we're left with basically the option of throw more money at enforcement. As Councillor Verbrugge pointed out, that's probably not something we're in a situation to be doing right now. Or figuring out how to be permissive in a way that encourages safety and I think that that's probably the path that most communities are going to end up in, because we're not, these vehicles aren't going away. They're going to get faster. They're going to get more efficient. And I think we have to stay ahead of that as much as we can. And I think that I do agree that the timing of this is challenging, just given the end of the term and the current workload of staff. So I would hope that this is, I don't know. I wouldn't want to see this take precedence over other work that's going on, but I do think that it needs to happen, and I do hope that things like Councillor Patola's suggestion of, I can't remember the name of the program, but the pilot program that was mentioned, if those things are already happening and in place, maybe that's the path of least resistance, is just to go straight to that and say, does this work for us? Can we be a part of it? I think that that's what I would like to see happen as a first step before we, dig into big reports and revising our own bylaws. If something exists and it makes sense for us, let's do that. So I think that there is room within this for that, and that's what I hope that we would see. So yeah, I think I'm just repeating pretty much what you said. So I'll stop now. But yeah, I will support this, and I hope that that's where we arrive.
Thank you, Councillor Dame. Great comments. Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was wondering if Councillor Soul would be willing to postpone this until the next meeting after the officer in charge comes and gives her report, and maybe refer this to her so she can comment on what is already covered under the Motor Vehicle Act. And I'd like to hear her suggestions on what we could include in a bylaw, even though they may be very preliminary suggestions, because as I said earlier, bikes are already covered in the Motor Vehicle Act. The RCMP do give out tickets for speeding, going through red lights, illegal left turns. They already are doing that. So I don't think we have to do it again if it's already being covered. So I would like to hear comments from her first before we move forward with this.
I'll give Councillor Solda an opportunity to comment on that. However, I would just maybe add that I think formal comments from RCMP would be naturally included in what's being requested here. So I don't know if we necessarily have to wait till after the inspector comes, because we probably would want a more formalized process to gain feedback from the RCMP and the members there, rather than just asking the inspector. Although we certainly could do that as well, and I think it's worthwhile. And I was also just going to ask that we add a friendly amendment to this motion to include a referral to the Traffic Advisory Committee as well. I think that is an excellent place, potentially even to start with this by sending it to the Traffic Advisory Committee first, and then taking that feedback and working from it. Because that's obviously a group of people who are well informed in this area, have a vast amount of understanding, and Councillor Mealy can take it there for us.
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I didn't really make a motion to second, but it was friendly, but thank you so much. Okay, so we've got that friendly amendment added. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Thanks, Councillor Solda, for bringing that forward. We will now move on to question period. This is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions of council on decisions or recommendations made during the course of the meeting. Up to 3 questions per speaker are able to be accommodated. Would anyone like to ask questions today? Come on forward, Desiree.
I think I'd figure this out. Hello, I am Desiree McClary. I am the founder of the Inclusive Play PA Society. I was wondering if I could make a comment to the accessibility seating at the multiplex first. That's coming from me as a parent. I also work for the both the junior hockey teams, so I work in the office, sell the tickets, and we do get a lot of requests coming from the people coming in and wanting accessibility seating, but that's in the rink. We do have like the whole upstairs area, and that's great and all, but like when people come to a hockey game, they want to like experience the cold, like the atmosphere. So like sitting up there isn't always everyone's forte. I know we do have a couple seats in there, but they are season ticket holder seats because we don't have very many of them. So if someone in a wheelchair or walker has already like claimed those seats. So it is a little disheartening when people come in and they say, oh, like, we want to sit in the accessible section. I'm like, well, we don't actually have that. And I try my best to, give them a better idea because my son is in a wheelchair. So trying to think of things and, help them out. But that is something, I know I actually sent an email to, I don't know his last name, but his first name was Sean, and he worked at the multiplex. I actually sent an email in detail with showing like the section that I would suggest based on like seeing other facilities and like the easiest way to take out seats and build a space that was accessible to the outside. And I did a bunch of work on it, and that was actually in, my memory serves me correctly, I believe it was January of 2024. And then I got a email request back, or like an email back stating that they were going to look into it. And then I had sent a follow-up email like 5 months later, and they just said they were still looking into it. So, we're in 2026, and I know that our season is nearing again. So even for me as a parent, bringing my son to the game, it's still difficult. And I know from visiting other arenas, because we will take Kiefer to other arenas, the accessible seating in some are great, but you can definitely tell that the city has prioritized that seating. And it's really not like a super big fix, in my opinion. Obviously, I don't know the logistics, but it is something that we do get requested for a lot. You just never know when someone's going to come through the door. So having that is really crucial, just from a parent perspective, but also I work for the team, so I also get those requests.
Thank you for that feedback, super helpful.
Yeah.
Councillor Patola has a comment.
No, actually more a question. I'm just wondering along those lines of providing access, do the Bulldogs or both teams, do they recognize the Access To card?
We don't, but we give a discount. So we give a community price rate for individuals that have disability or need like a companion to come with them. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And other comments?
Oh, yes.
And sorry,
my
I
other
will just
comment
say,
was-
I should just answer that our CAO has noted that.
Yeah.
And since it's already, so we've received the email as well, we're going to add your feedback, but really appreciate
Yeah.
that. It's super helpful.
Yeah.
And I think valuable the team's perspective as well, that you're hearing that on a regular basis. So thanks for bringing it forward.
Yeah, and it's something that like the end of hockey season comes, and then like we kind of are like, oh, something will be done, and then September comes, and I was just thinking about it a couple weeks ago. I'm like, oh, nothing's happened, but I should follow up with that. So it was nice that it got brought up today. Second thing was I was excited to hear the motion to move forward with potentially building an accessible park. I know one of the concerns was like, ideally, like I also am a mom with a son with disability, so I would love for every park to be accessible, but like realistically, it's not, unless we have a ton of money sitting around to use. It's not really something, and I, as a parent, I also, when I go to like different communities, I am like seeking out that specific park, because like when you have a child with, complex needs or a wheelchair, you're always looking for like the easiest place to go. So yes, I agree that all parks should be accessible, but I think realistically that's not doable, and I understand that. So I guess from my standpoint, I can't speak specifically for our society, but I know for sure that we would love to contribute and fundraise, like moving forward, to put money, like a good chunk of money, into something that we develop as a city. And one thing I know is that we have, we're currently right now, I think we're almost at $40,000 in a couple years raised. So I know we could get more money, but definitely partnering with the city would help us a lot in doing that. So I just think that it's exciting moving forward. I know it was 4 years ago, but also I understand that things take time to happen. So I guess my one question would be, moving forward, what would this look like from our standpoint, as well as with you guys? I know you can't make any major decisions, but just kind of like what you would need from us going forward.
Wonderful question. So the motion today that was passed did formally include a line to work collaboratively with your society. So whoever this ends up being assigned to within Parks, Recreation, and Culture will connect with your group. And we can, like, part of those conversations can be around, formalized partnerships and helping you fundraise. I know that we talked about a few ways that the city and your society can work together last time we met. So I would say a follow-up conversation, but we'll be assigning a specific person to this.
Okay. And is this something, like, our walk is on September 27th this year? Is this something that we can announce? Like, obviously, we're not saying, like, this is happening right now or anything, but, like, is that okay to share? I mean, I guess it's public knowledge now that it's been here.
It's public knowledge,
Yeah.
and we can, of course, give you a copy of the formal motion that was passed, and then you can pull from it whatever you like, and you're welcome to share it, for sure. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Des. Are there other members of the public who would like to speak? Joseph?
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Laskosic. I live here in Port Alberni. Just a quick thing. Looking at the quarterly report from Parks and Rec, I have a question on the multiplex rental chiller that was purchased. It's probably been brought up before, but I don't remember hearing about it exclusively or to clarify that for myself and maybe others. So we know that the chiller failed and there was a temporary rental put in place to keep things going. And then that chiller was then purchased and then put in place permanently to be a permanent thing. I believe it was a rental one that was then permanently put in place. So the question way back when this was first brought up was, I think the chiller was initially under a warranty still, and that was being investigated whether some of that cost could be recouped. Just wondering if that ever was or not, if warranty was ever something that came out of that, where that part of that was covered. The second part of that is also on the rental of the rental cooler, which is a used cooler, that would be put in place, not a new purchase. I imagine new purchase would be a lot more money than buying a used one. So again, that would be a used one put in place, so warranty would be next to nil or maybe a little bit. So just, yeah, was it, so with that purchase of that, the decision of that, was there any ever warranty coverage on the original one? Because it was still under warranty. So I'm sure it was brought up, but I don't remember hearing about it. So.
Thank you, Andrew.
Madam Mayor, so what we do is we're going through the process as far as the warranty with the supplier, so that has to be flushed out, obviously. And we would work with that supplier for that warranty. Obviously, it's a legal issue that we are dealing with. And then the second question, as far as the chiller, so the chiller that was rented or used chiller, sorry, that was put in had a smaller plate set up. So we had to do the upgrades to get it for a double-plated system. That allows for both sides of the rink to be supplied, and there is a warranty on that. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but we can follow up with that.
Okay, thank you. And I don't remember what the cost was, but I know it was for the rental and then the purchase. It's in the budget. If I look back, I could look that all up, so not that important. But I know it's significant cost for sure to keep that going above and beyond the annual cost for maintenance and budget for maintaining the multiplex. So that's all good. I can look that one up. The second thing I have is a question or a comment. You're talking about the bicycles, electrical bicycles, all that kind of stuff, because it is, I was just in another community where they're all over the streets because there's a private company that's coming in is providing them, so you can jump on a bike, electric scooter. And there's supposed to be an age restriction on who's using them. It's lots of people underage are jumping on them and using them everywhere. But there is some sort of things. So I'm just wondering, with looking into that and putting things in place for safety, for the use of them, I know we have something, I think it's called Cycle Alberni, the group as part of the Transition Town Society has something there in place already for cycling, and I'm wondering if that's something they might be involved in. Now, I think currently they do have bicycle teaching on safety and working with the city too, you know, so there's events where they'll come up with safety, how to use them safely, the bicycle rules, all those things. Is that something you could approach them and say, can you help be part of this? Just a question.
I think that's a fantastic question. Councillor Mealy, does Cycle Alberni participate in our traffic advisory committee?
No, not to my knowledge, Madam Mayor.
If they don't, I think we should invite them in case they would like to, just to have a voice at the table. And I think that's an excellent suggestion. We do engage with Cycle Alberni when we make changes specifically for cycling as a part of our standard process. We engage with them ongoing, but I actually think it would be very valuable to have specific representation for cyclists at the Traffic Advisory Committee. And for this, absolutely, as we continue to go through the steps on the motion that was passed today, I think engaging with Cycle Alberni formally on it is a great suggestion. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, just we've had representation. In fact, Mr. Thomas, the old high school teacher, came to one of the meetings this year as well, and he was riding his bike, but to talk about cycling opportunities, maybe not on behalf of Cycle Alberni or Riders of the Alberni Valley, but definitely we've had people come because they want their input heard. So the more the merrier. That's why I say, bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's worth making a formal invitation to the group just to see if they, and it might be a capacity issue that they may not have a designate ready to sit at the table, but we should certainly welcome them. So thanks for that, Joseph. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, would somebody like to move adjournment? Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. On the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed, meeting adjourned. Thanks everyone for coming.
We just want to delay it for you, Scott. Sorry, we just want to hang on.